ju, och jag har också den hälsningen till oss alla. Vi är fantastiska. Vi är. Fick jag med som en hälsning till oss.
Alltså, jag känner att det är mycket lärande för mig själv under de här dagarna. Verkligen att det grows och att ja, vad håller jag på med egentligen? Och idag, även igår, men idag liksom det här med att möta alla människor och liksom bli uppfylld av alla möjligheter. Och när man blir så här väldigt konkret när det handlar om hur ska vi få till det och andetagen. Ja, då känner jag att här går jag igång. Det är liksom spännande. Och så intensiteten, alltså 3 dagar som det är. Jag pratar med flera stycken som säger att det kanske är nödvändigt för att den här processen och de här 11 timmarna vi jobbar, 17 timmar, alltså man är igång, det gör att man kommer in i ett annat flow. Man tvingas in i ett nytt tänk. Det är så annorlunda mot allt annat man upplever. Och därför också så roligt att höra så många har slutat, att man har landat idag. Man ser möjligheter, det är fantastiskt. Och något andra lärdom som jag har personligen, det är skärpa och tydlighet. Som jag måste utveckla och jobba med. I alla sammanhang, tror jag. Men också någonting som blir oerhört tydligt. Det är många av er som vill upp att man applicerar tankarna, modellerna, teachern, att det liksom appliceras i, att man plockar det utifrån det man har gjort för att göra det tydligt och förståeligt. Alltså det blir ord som sitter här uppe, utan det blir ord som är bland annat. Så jag ser egentligen bara möjligheter. Och jag tror känslan är att det är flera som skulle vilja vara med och göra något sånt här. Och att det verkligen byggs kapaciteten. Att det är fler som vill vara med på tåget. Den möjligheten ser jag utan tvekan. Och det här med att hålla space och få lov att komma tillbaka igen. Gott.
I am learning a lot. Thank you so much for making that possible. I'm learning a lot by co-creating a training like this. Sometimes a challenge for me, since I'm used to do so much with smaller groups, only fighting or something, or doing so. That's good experience. Because what we gain as doing this as a team is so much by the strength of the team and the community and the many perspectives, people. That is strongly life, But it's still, for me, it's still and it is a practice because I believe it. But since I'm used to another practice, and so it's really a practice that even practice. It's a practice. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. I'm learning that I am I know all this stuff, but it's still, I'm still too fast. Very fast. I'm good at I'm not good at the slowness sometimes. So that I'm still learning. So I mean, and a lot of other patterns that have been, about me, myself, and my own work, that has become useful, and that I'm aware of them, but it's good. I have to just nudge. So that was 2 examples. I could go on. So thank you for the opportunity. But also as a team, when to step in, and I believe this, when we're so many people co-creating something, and I still am, I have ideas, I'm a professional. When do I say no? I think in the kind of design or even later that phase, that's a learning item. It's a really, but I think that's a challenge for every team working together. But that's something to reflect on as a team, because we're also very squeamish sometimes, in a way. So that's also something to reflect. The balance. And also the strength of community. I mean, that lady was sitting behind you at the checkout that says, now I can see there are more. I'm not alone. I mean, that's so much part of this, what we do. So you need 3 days for that. It's a bit like, but on the other side, it's like, confirmation camps for teens. Everybody's a Christian for 2 weeks because they've been away for 2 weeks, and that other periods have been crying a bit. The guys, they cry and then they become Christians, and then they're like, for 2 weeks they're Christians. It's like I've been leading those kind of camps lately. When I was younger, so I know all the tricks how to save some teen souls. I'm just kidding. No, but there's, the sense of community, the specific language, it builds community. It's good. But then, we've been talking about that a lot when people get back home, and the language, and that is not easy. And that was also a part of this training, to make that shit easier. So I'm just, that's the dynamics, and that's the strength of this movement as it is, but it's also something to think how we make it easier. That's what I love about this movement. It's just to see that also. I will go another round afterwards. Discovering more.
Thank you for the invitation. And for welcoming me in this field kind of at the last minute. We looked at each other this morning and we said, so, you had an idea that you would maybe be quiet and not do much. That didn't happen. But that also speaks to the many moving parts that this training is. There's a lot going on, as you all know. Was it you that said, to actually be coaching somebody and to be in the learning at the same time? There's so many levels we're actually working on. And to be able to hold that, so respect to you when you do something and you think that wasn't the best I could do, but you need to be actually present in the field and stay present in the field. And how do you deal with that? Also in the moment when you can sense that it's not going the way you thought. Wow, so there's a real strength needed and a capacity and a kind of team holding to be able to keep going or to go and come back. I thought what you did this morning was so gorgeous. So it's that kind of, how do we make space for each other? How do we hold each other well? And to speak to the intensity, when the first person mentioned that, I was thinking of the poet Rumi, because He has this story about the chickpea in the cooking pot. I'm done cooking! And the cook hits him with the spoon. No, you're not. Get back in there. No. There's a bit of that in art of hosting, really. But there's something I think that's important about the intensity, and that is that I really think underneath it all, what we are training for is to be ready in the moment. And that feels like that. So to be ready in the moment, to have trained in intensity, not when it's quiet and easy and it's really, really spacious, because life isn't like that. The flood happens, the earthquake happens, the whatever happens, and you got to step in. That's actually what I think we're training for. Can we trust each other in that moment when it's really needed, even if we don't know what the fuck, we don't know what's going on? But we can step in anyway and go, we have a practice that we share that gives us a foundation to suggest things and to trust each other that bit. And then how do we make enough space for people to be in the practice? And I was thinking about a conversation I had in Chicago with the community of practice there of how can training and engagement be like pearls on a string? So we're not only relying on training to give people capacity, but there's actually somewhere real they can step in and where we can invite them in. So how do we have a training that kind of leads to some kind of conversation or engagement or something where people can be invited to help, which leads to another training, and these things spot each other, because otherwise, I've recognized over time that unless a community of practice has something that we can do in common, it's very hard to keep one going. It takes a lot of effort. Somebody actually, I'm in Columbus, Ohio, where they've had art of hosting for 15 years, and I think there are 3 of them that keep the community of practice going by regularly offering something, and they decided 3 times a year each one of them will be the host of something. That's the way they keep it going. Because they first thought, oh, it'll be self-organizing, but people didn't step forward, because unless you really know the depth of this practice, it's hard to think, what else can I do? And there's so much depth people can have on the methodology as well as the practice component. So, how do you alternate things so that people can stay interested and have opportunities to meet each other and work on something? So that's a question I think you're at right at this moment. When I first met the art of hosting, I knew all the practice, I knew all the methods, but I could tell there was something in the practice. I thought, I can do all those things, but it's this thing that is the glue that I want to learn about and that I will have to apprentice to. So it was Toka and Tatiana I met first in the training, and talk about intense. Tatiana is like a whirlwind. I've never met anybody who speaks that fast, even when she's lying down in